Namaste, selamat pagi. Excellencies, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning and warm welcome to you all. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to meet you at the seminar, which is jointly organized by the Embassy of the Republic of Indonesia and the National Maritime Foundation of India. The theme of this seminar is India's Act East and Indonesia's Global Maritime Fulcrum, Potential for Future Cooperation. It's timely and challenging. Timely, since maritime issues becomes increasingly important in international relations at global, regional, and bilateral level, and also challenging, since it covers many aspects of maritime security, safety to conservation, and of course, maritime economy. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as you might aware, President Joko Widodo in October 2014 pledged to transform Indonesia to be a global maritime fulcrum and translated the doctrine into 5 pillars, namely maritime culture, maritime resources, maritime infrastructure, and connectivity, maritime diplomacy, and maritime defense forces. The doctrine, introduced internationally for the first time at the East Asia Summit in November 2014. Since then, the development of maritime sector is high on the priority list of the government of Indonesia. Progress has been made by the government in the last 2 years to restructure Indonesia's maritime potentiality and develop international maritime cooperation. At the regional level, Indonesia has taken active role in promoting cooperation between Indian Ocean Rim Association member states. The first ever IORA summit was held in Jakarta on 7 March this year, resulted in Jakarta Concord. That is, promoting regional cooperation for a peaceful, stable, and prosperous Indian Ocean. IORA Action Plan 2017 and 2021, and Declaration on Preventing and Countering Terrorism and Extremism. Furthermore, 2 months ago, Indonesia also hosted another important event, namely the second IORA Blue Economy Ministerial Conference in Jakarta on 8 to 10 May 2017. At the bilateral level, the government of Indonesia has been engaging key countries in the region, including India, to promote and strengthen maritime cooperation. India is essentially a maritime nation with vast maritime interests. In recent years, will focus on the Act East policy and initiatives in the maritime domain. India is emerging as a resurgent maritime nation, which provides opportunity for enhancing maritime cooperation with Indonesia. Furthermore, maritime security and safety, as well as maritime economy, in the recent years have become increasingly important for the two countries, who shares complementarities as well as challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, statement on maritime cooperation was one of the important outcomes of President Jokowi's visit to India on 11 to 13 December 2016, which stated a joint commitment to further strengthen maritime cooperation inter alia in the field of maritime security, maritime safety, and maritime industry. Against this backdrop, with the aim to explore future maritime cooperation, the Embassy of the Republic of Indonesia and the National Maritime Foundation of India are organizing this seminar to identify opportunities and challenges for the development of maritime cooperation between Indonesia and India. This one-day seminar will comprise of 2 thematic sessions corresponding to the seminar objectives, whereas the first session will delve on the security perspective. The second one will address economic issues. It is expected that this seminar will produce a set of recommendations for a concrete and practical ways ahead for future cooperation between the two countries. It is my sincere wish that all of you gathered here today will give benefit of your presence and participation. Finally, I hope this will be a productive and successful seminar. Thank you very much. Dhanyawad. Terima kasih.
And was promoted to be the 22nd Chief of the Naval Staff on 17 April 2014. On 25 November 2016, he took over as the 5th Chairman of the National Maritime Foundation, New Delhi, which is India's premier maritime think tank. Now I would like to give the floor to Excellency Admiral R.K. Dhowan.
Thank you. Mr. Dalton, Republic of Indonesia, at the Embassy in New Delhi, Excellencies, distinguished guests, former Commanders-in-Chief of the Indian Navy, senior officers from the Navy, both serving and retired, senior officers from the Indonesian Navy, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a distinct honor for me to accord a very warm welcome to all of you for this seminar on India's Act East policy and Indonesia's global maritime fulcrum, exploring the potential for future maritime cooperation. It is indeed a privilege for the National Maritime Foundation to co-host the seminar with the Embassy of Indonesia at New Delhi. India and Indonesia are two maritime nations with a natural outflow towards the seas, some common maritime heritage, and the seas around us have been the vortex of intense maritime activity over centuries. We have India as a nation which sits astride busy sea lines of communication which transit across the Indian Ocean. Nearly 100,000 ships transit every year, carrying 66% of the world's oil, 50% of the world's container traffic, 33% of the world's cargo traffic across these waters. Indonesia sits on the crossroads of both the Indian Ocean as well as the Pacific Ocean. The Indian Ocean archipelago, comprising 17,500 islands, stretches from the tip of the Andaman Sea, past Malacca Strait, Java and the Banda Sea towards the Pacific Ocean. India has vast maritime interests which have a vital relationship with the nation's economic growth. And in the recent years, under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, there have been a series of initiatives and extensive development in the maritime domain. Also, coupled with the fact that there's been a transition from the Look East to the Act East policy, it actually appears that India has once again turned towards the seas and is destined to emerge as a resurgent maritime nation. Indonesia, with the second largest coastline in the world and an exclusive economic zone of 2.7 million square kilometers, has an ocean of opportunities to harness the blue economy. As the Deputy Head of Mission mentioned, the Honorable President Jokowi has articulated his vision for the global maritime fulcrum, which is based on 5 pillars ranging from maritime culture to economy, maritime infrastructure, diplomacy, and maritime security. India and Indonesia are literal neighbors which share a maritime boundary in the eastern part of the Indian Ocean. The northern province of Aceh in Indonesia is barely 90 nautical miles from Indra Point, located in the southern part of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. We have common maritime interests and we have common maritime security challenges. This provides an ideal opportunity to explore the potential for future maritime cooperation between our two countries. India has a coastline of 7,516 kilometers and an exclusive economic zone of over 2 million square kilometers. 95% of our trade by volume and 72% by value transit by sea, and this comprises nearly 50% of the country's GDP. Our maritime interests are also, therefore, enablers of our blue economy. And I will now highlight some of the areas in the maritime sector which are likely to witness significant growth in the coming years and which will also be the avenues of cooperation between India and Indonesia in the future. India has 12 major ports and over 200 minor and intermediate ports. The cargo handling capacity at these ports is currently 1,400 million metric tons per annum, which is likely to increase to 2,500 million metric tons per annum in the next 10 years. The government has launched an ambitious Sagarmala project, which is a port-led development initiative based on pillars of port modernization, connectivity, coastal community development, as well as aspects related to the port industrialization. Sagarmala actually comprises about 150 projects with an envisaged investment of 60 to 70 billion US dollars. The aim is to provide connectivity between the major and minor ports and connectivity with the hinterland through the road and rail network, development of transshipment hubs, development of the coastal shipping, as well as the inland waterways. Indonesia also intends to develop about 180 major and minor ports, and development of port infrastructure could be an area of maritime cooperation in the future. India has a vibrant shipbuilding industry, and we have 27 shipyards, and recently the government has given a tremendous boost to the shipbuilding industry by according it the special infrastructure status, induction of technology, setting up of design centers, and permitting 100% foreign direct investment in shipbuilding. Another area I would like to mention is that of warship building in India. As you're all aware, we built our first naval war vessel way back in 1961 and set up our Naval Design Directorate in 1964. And over the last 50 years, our naval designers have designed and our indigenous shipyards have built ships for the Indian Navy, resulting in our transition from a buyer's navy to a builder's navy. The blueprint for the future Indian Navy is firmly anchored on self-reliance and indigenization. And it's a matter of great pride that all the 40 ships and submarines currently under construction for the Indian Navy are being built in Indian shipyards, both public and private. And these range from aircraft carrier to frigates, destroyers, and submarines. Indonesia too has a thriving shipbuilding program, and joint venture partnerships between our shipyards for future shipbuilding programs could be an avenue of cooperation. India has about 1,300 islands and islets as part of the Andaman and Nicobar group in the Bay of Bengal, the Lakshadweep group in the Arabian Sea, and islands off the west and east coast of India. The government has prepared a very comprehensive island development plan, taking into account aspects of security, economic sustenance, environment preservation, and social and cultural sustenance. It is intended to develop greenfield infrastructure projects in these islands and also look into aspects of controlled ecotourism. In addition, the locations of the west and east coast of India, as well as the islands, could provide an ideal opportunity for development of marinas and cruise tourism. Opening up of the marine tourism sector would provide a host of opportunities between India and Indonesia for maritime cooperation. Renewable sources of energy, particularly ocean-based, is another niche sector which is likely to see tremendous growth in the coming years. And the areas would be tidal energy, wave energy, as well as ocean thermal energy conversion, or OTEC. India has taken some initiatives in this regard, and the renewable sources of energy from the oceans could become another avenue for maritime cooperation. As can be seen, there are a spectrum of opportunities for maritime cooperation, but the challenge will be to ensure that these are greenfield projects with minimum impact on the environment to ensure sustained development. The seas are no longer a benign medium, and globalization has led to vulnerability of the oceans. The threats and challenges in the maritime domain are as wide and varied as they come. Who could have imagined that in the 21st century we would once again be grappling with pirates, or that the major threat in the maritime domain would be from asymmetric warfare and maritime terrorism. But it is a reality today, and the other challenges include arms trafficking, drug smuggling, human trafficking, and poaching. The waters of the Indo-Pacific region are also prone to natural disasters, and our navies have to be ready for rapid response to provide humanitarian assistance and disaster relief at all times. In the aftermath of the tsunami in 2004, the Indian Navy and the navies of the region provided assistance to Indonesia and disaster relief, and this exemplifies the unique brotherhood of the seas and the ability of the navies to promote cooperation. The Indian Navy and the Indonesian Navy have a vibrant cooperation arrangement spanning over decades. The first Navy-to-Navy agreement was signed way back in 1958, and the two navies conducted a joint exercise in 1960. The Indian Navy attended the International Fleet Review of Jakarta in 1995, marking 50 years of independence of Indonesia. The first defense agreement was signed in 2001, and since 2002, the two navies have been carrying out coordinated patrol in the Andaman Sea. The other ongoing areas of cooperation include regular port visits by our ships, passage exercises, training interaction, as well as the participation in Milan, which is a regional navies meet held once every 2 years at Port Blair in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. As far as the other aspects are concerned, the Indian Navy launched a unique initiative in 2008, and that was of the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium as a maritime construct for cooperation among navies of the region. Today, IONS has 22 members, including Indonesia. And as the Deputy Chief of Mission mentioned, we also have the IORA, the Indian Ocean Rim Association, to promote cooperation between the countries of the region. Interestingly, 20 members of the IORA also have their navies as part of the IONS. And recently there has been synergy between both the Indian Ocean Rim Association and the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. To further promote cooperation among the navies of the world, the Indian Navy organized the International Fleet Review last year at Visakhapatnam. 50 navies of the world, including Indonesian Navy, came together at Visakhapatnam to strengthen bridges of friendship. We also conducted a seminar partnering together for a secure maritime future. And the underlying theme of the International Fleet Review was that we may be separated by geography, but we are certainly united through oceans. Speaking at the International Fleet Review, the Honorable Prime Minister of India reiterated his vision for the Indian Ocean as Sagar, which means the ocean and stands for security and growth for all in the region. The Indian Ocean region has emerged as the world's center of gravity in the maritime domain. Another unique feature of the Indian Ocean is that 80% of the oil and trade that emanates in the Indian Ocean region is extra-regional in nature. This implies that if there is any impediment in the free flow of oil or trade, it would have a detrimental impact not just on the economies of the region, but the global economies as well. Safety, security, and stability on the waters of the Indian Ocean is of paramount importance. And it is the collective responsibility of the navies to ensure the security and safety of the global commons. Networking between navies and global maritime partnerships are therefore emerging as the new order of the 21st century. I am sure that in the coming years, the cooperation between the Indian Navy and the Indonesian Navy will further enhance and progress, particularly in the field of information exchange to enhance the maritime domain awareness. India and Indonesia are two neighbors who have extended their hand across the Indian Ocean to partner together for maritime cooperation. And I would like to refer to this partnership as Partnership for Prosperity. I'm sure that this seminar will throw up some suggestions and ideas to further enhance the scope of cooperation between our two navies and between our two countries, including harnessing of the blue economy so that we can ensure sustained development of the oceans. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Admiral R.K. Dhowan. Ladies and gentlemen, now